Since its creation, America has been viewed as a place where individuals can voice their opinions without being attacked for their views. When these rights are threatened, Americans have fought to preserve their freedom and have protested against wrongdoing. However, on March 12, 1947, the Cold War began, causing tensions between the United States and the Communist Soviet Union. During this time, it was believed that communists were living among American citizens, either serving as spies for the Soviet Union or hoping to spread their communist ideologies to the United States. Fearing that communism would spread and corrupt the government of the US and its allied countries, many Americans panicked, and the Second Red Scare began. These concerns of the public were only accentuated by Joseph McCarthy, a former US senator whose fear-mongering tactics led to the possibility of anyone being targeted as an enemy of the nation, leading many people to be fearful of losing their jobs. The fear of losing one's livelihood shaped the 1950s in the form of McCarthyism, which transformed societal and political values from the constructive criticism of the American ideals being viewed as productive to that action being seen as treasonous to the American public. With the development of McCarthyism, a mob mind mentality was created among the public, and it built up the horror of living in a world with no way to regain your identity. On February 9, 1950, Joseph McCarthy delivered a speech at a small women's convention in West Virginia, in which he claimed to have a list of 205 that were known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party and who, nevertheless, were still working and shaping the policy in the State Department, causing panic within America as people were eager and scared enough to oust any individual who had even the slightest intimation of being spies. While McCarthy's list was suspected to be nothing more than a blank sheet of paper, his statements still had major repercussions. Many actors and film producers were blacklisted from Hollywood. Friends and family members would sell out one another to retain both their job and reputation. And innocent people lost their position in the workplace. In the film Good Night and Good Luck, an Air Force lieutenant named Milo Radulovic was blacklisted because his dad read some Serbian newspaper and they called him a security risk. Charges were brought against Radulovic for suspicion that his father and sister were communist sympathizers. While the charges had little evidence that Radulovic was a security risk, nobody was quick to defend Radulovic as they would have been seen and labeled a communist sympathizer and may have been laid off from work. Milo's story mirrored the situation of many others whose lives were destroyed from empty claims. With this culture of distrust being created, the fear of losing one's livelihood spread throughout America. McCarthyism had censored and prevented intellectual freedom as there was an attempt to keep major figures from voicing their opinions. By viewing anything about communism as taboo, people were afraid to object against the effects of McCarthyism as they were at risk of being fired. However, certain people were vocal and critical in their view of McCarthyism, such as Albert Einstein. He knew that the current investigations were an incomparably greater danger to our society than those few communists in our country could ever be. Einstein immediately faced backlash for his comments, being labeled as a communist without hesitation. Without the ability to criticize McCarthyism for its flaws, the progression of society regressed. Individuals began to lose their morals, betraying their own families to save their livelihood, such as in the prosecution of David Greenglass. Greenglass was a machinist who worked on the Manhattan Project, but was also a spy for the Soviet Union, sending secrets on how to build an atomic bomb. He, along with his sister and brother-in-law, Ethel and Julius Rosenberg, were accused of being Soviet spies. While Julius Rosenberg, David Greenglass, and his wife Ruth Greenglass were almost certainly guilty of espionage, Ethel Rosenberg was likely innocent on all charges. While initially he refused to implicate his sister, just before the Rosenberg trial, Mr. Greenglass changed his story. He now said that his wife had informed FBI agents that his sister had typed his notes. When the trials ended, Ruth Greenglass was safe from prosecution, while Ethel and Julius Rosenberg were sentenced to death. When he was asked in an interview if he had regretted it, he said that his wife is more important to him than his sister. McCarthyism was a key factor in the collapse of Greenglass's moral compass, which in turn resulted in the death of an innocent person. People's fear transformed from being scared of losing their jobs to fearing the loss of their lives as well. Throughout the years, people have made accusations about others to express their disapproval of that person, escape trouble, and rise to power. Ultimately, the repeated practice of blaming others for actions they didn't do has caused society to become corrupt, not just in the 1950s, but also in present-day America. In 2020, cancel culture rose to popularity, bringing people together to end the mistreatment of minorities and to remove racist depictions from products and media. Although some argue that cancel culture is an important way to hold people accountable for their harmful behavior, others believe that it can be overly punitive and can lead to the suppression of free speech. There have been times when cancel culture has helped promote a diverse and accepting society, but most of the time, it has been used to call someone out for a small mistake they made in the past. Citizens of modern America struggle to accept the fact that people are flawed and make mistakes, and when certain individuals are called out for a small slip-up, it creates fear among society as people now have to watch what they say or risk becoming a target and losing their reputation, just like during the age of McCarthyism. Historical events have shaped society into viewing one simple mistake as a defining characteristic of a person. But if people look a little closer and listen instead of assuming, society can become more tolerant and accepting, and more people will be able to achieve benefits and opportunities. McCarthyism and the Second Red Scare would forever change the political and societal values of America, building up a fear of one losing their livelihood if they didn't show enough loyalty to their already corrupt nation. Many people argue that allegiance to the country is important because it ensures the safety of the nation, but the expectation of devotion included rejection of one's own beliefs and betraying their friends and family to meet the unreasonable standards of the US. In a country that was built on freedom, the freedom of speech has become a debatable topic, and many people think that America will never recover from the impact the age of McCarthyism left. In the modern day, elements from the 1950s are present throughout society in the form of cancel culture and social media. But if society is willing to welcome and debate new ideologies, it will foster humanity to continuously better itself.